Amara lived in a small and peaceful village where every day felt the same, yet warm and full of love. Her home was surrounded by wide green fields and tall trees that danced whenever the wind passed through. Every morning, the sound of roosters woke her up, and she would help her mother cook breakfast while her father and brother, Tund, prepared to work on the farm. Life was simple, but to Amara, it also felt small. She often sat by the river near their home, watching the water move and listening to the soft sounds of nature. While others found peace there, she found questions. She wanted to know what lay beyond the hills, what cities looked like, what kind of people lived there. Sometimes, when travelers passed through the village, she would follow them for a while, listening to their stories. They spoke about busy streets, tall buildings, bright lights, and shops full of things she had never seen. Each word lit a spark in her heart. Her best friend, a girl named Lena, would laugh and say, "You think too much, Amara. The city is not for us. We belong here." But Amara would shake her head with a small smile. "Maybe I just want to see for myself," she would say. She wasn't sure what she was searching for: adventure, maybe, or something to make her feel more alive. At night, after dinner, Amara's family would sit outside near the fire. Her father would tell stories about the old days, and Tund would make everyone laugh with his jokes. Her mother would hum softly while she mended clothes. It was peaceful, but sometimes Amara's eyes wandered toward the dark hills in the distance. She always wondered what was beyond them. One evening, a group of traders arrived at the village. They came from Mavuno, a large city far away. They spoke of streets so wide that hundreds of people could walk at once, and lights so bright that the stars could not be seen. They said people could work and make their own money, that there were schools, music, and endless things to do. Amara listened quietly at first, but her heart began to beat faster. She imagined herself walking through those streets, meeting new people, learning new things. The thought made her feel both excited and scared. That night, she could not sleep. The idea of leaving grew stronger and stronger in her mind. She thought about how her life in the village would always be the same: helping her mother, working in the fields, listening to stories, and watching the same hills every day. She wanted something more. The next morning, she told her parents her decision. Her father looked surprised, while her mother's face filled with worry. "Amara," her mother said softly, "why do you want to go? You have a home here. You have us." Amara looked down at her hands. "Mama," she said, "I want to see the world. I want to know what else is out there. I don't want to spend my life wondering what could have been." Her mother sighed deeply. "The world beyond the hills is not always kind," she said. "People in cities can be cold. Life there is not like life here. There is no one to guide you." "I know," Amara said quietly, "but I must go. I must find out for myself." Tund, her younger brother, looked sad. "You will forget us," he said, crossing his arms. Amara smiled and hugged him. "Never, Tund. You are my favorite person in the world. But I have to go. I will come back one day and tell you all the stories I find." Her father didn't stop her. He simply placed a hand on her shoulder and said, "Then go with courage. But remember who you are and where you come from." For the next few days, Amara prepared for her journey. She packed only what she needed: a small bag with clothes, a little food, a blanket, and a few coins her father gave her. Lena came to see her before she left. "You're really going?" she asked, her voice filled with disbelief. "Yes," Amara said with a small smile. "It's time." Lena hugged her tightly. "Then promise you'll come back," she said. "I promise." The morning Amara left was bright and quiet. The sky was painted with soft orange light, and birds sang in the distance. Her mother cooked her favorite meal, yam and stew, and made her eat before she went. When Amara was ready, she hugged her parents and brother one last time. Her mother held her close and whispered, "If ever you feel lost, listen to your heart. It will lead you home." Amara smiled, though her eyes were wet with tears. "I will, Mama." Then she began to walk. Her feet felt heavy at first, but the pull of curiosity pushed her forward. The path stretched before her like a long brown ribbon, winding between the hills. She turned once to wave at her family, who stood watching from a distance, and then continued until they were only tiny shapes behind her. As she walked, the land around her began to change. The air grew hotter, and the fields turned to dry plains. She met a few travelers along the road, some friendly, some too tired to speak. At night, she slept under the stars and thought about what the city might be like. Would it really be full of lights and opportunity? Would people welcome her? Or would it be as lonely as her mother feared? Sometimes, fear crept into her thoughts. She missed home already, the soft sound of her mother's voice, Tun's laughter, the smell of her father's cooking fire. But she reminded herself that she had made her choice. She had to be brave. After several days of walking, Amara began to see signs of the city. The sky grew hazy with smoke, and the roads became wider. The sound of wagons, footsteps, and voices filled the air. Her heart began to race. She had finally reached Mavuno, the city she had dreamed of for so long. It was everything she imagined, yet not what she expected. The buildings stood tall and shining, and the streets were alive with noise and color. People rushed past her, busy with their own lives. The air was filled with the smell of food, dust, and smoke. Amara felt small, but also amazed. She found a small place to rest and watched the people go by. They seemed strong, confident, and fast. She wondered if she could ever be like them. For a long moment, she felt proud. She had done what she set out to do. She had left her village, faced her fears, and reached her dream city. But deep in her heart, as the day turned to night and the bright lights came alive, she felt a strange emptiness. It was quiet inside her, even as the world around her roared. She thought of her mother's words, "The world is not always kind." Still, she told herself she would not regret her choice. She would work hard, learn, and prove she could make a life here. She whispered softly to herself, "I am strong. I can do this." The stars were hidden by the city lights, and she missed seeing them. But she smiled anyway. She didn't know that her journey had only just begun, and that soon, the strange new world she had entered would teach her lessons she never expected. That night, as she closed her eyes in a small corner of Mavuno, she held on to her mother's words and her father's blessing. Somewhere deep down, she still believed that her choice was the right one. But in time, she would learn that every dream comes with its own price. When Amara reached Mavuno, she felt as if she had stepped into another world. The city stretched out before her, filled with sound, color, and movement. The streets were crowded with people moving fast in every direction, carts rattling, and voices shouting from every corner. There were tall buildings that almost touched the sky and shining lights that glowed even during the day. For a moment, Amara just stood still, her small bag in her hands, her eyes wide with wonder. She had never seen anything like it. At first, her heart filled with excitement. She felt proud of herself. She had made it to the great city she had always dreamed about. She walked slowly through the streets, trying to take in every detail, the smell of roasted corn, the sound of laughter, the rhythm of footsteps on the hard ground. But as the day went on, her excitement began to fade. The faces around her were serious and rushed. No one looked at her or smiled. Everyone seemed to be chasing something she couldn't see. By evening, Amara realized she didn't know where she was going. The city looked beautiful, but it was also confusing. The streets twisted and turned, and every corner looked the same. She tried asking people for help, but most of them ignored her or walked away quickly. One woman pointed her toward the market, and Amara followed the sound of voices and music until she found it. The market was full of life. Sellers shouted about their goods, fruits, clothes, shoes, and shiny jewelry. Children ran between the stalls, and the smell of fried food filled the air. Amara's stomach growled, but she only had a few coins, so she bought a small piece of bread and sat by the road to eat it. As she watched people pass by, she started to feel a little afraid. The city was not as friendly as she had imagined. That night, she found a quiet corner near the market where a few travelers were resting. They told her she could stay there until morning. Amara spread her small blanket on the ground and tried to sleep, but the city never went quiet. Even late at night, she could hear the sounds of wheels, voices, and music from far away. She missed the silence of her village, the soft wind, the sound of frogs by the river, and her mother's humming before bed. In the morning, she woke up early and decided to find work. She walked from shop to shop, asking if anyone needed help. Most people shook their heads or told her to come back later. After hours of walking, her feet were sore, and she felt tired and hungry. Just as she was about to give up, she saw a small shop by the edge of the market. It sold clothes, shoes, and small gifts. The owner, a woman named Mama Binta, stood by the door. Amara greeted her politely and asked if she needed a cleaner. Mama Binta looked her up and down and said, "You're not from here, are you?" "No," Amara said softly. "I came from a village far away. I'm looking for work." Mama Binta studied her face for a moment, then nodded. "You can clean and help arrange things in the shop. I can't pay much, but it's something." Amara smiled with relief. "Thank you," she said. She began working that very day. The job was simple: sweeping the floor, dusting shelves, folding clothes, and helping customers find what they needed. It was tiring, but Amara was grateful. She worked hard and listened carefully to everything Mama Binta taught her. Sometimes, when the shop was quiet, she would look out through the window at the busy street and think about her family. She wondered what Tund was doing, if her mother was still humming by the fire, and if her father still told stories at night. The days passed slowly. Every morning, Amara woke up before sunrise, cleaned herself with a small bowl of water, and walked to the shop. The city was always moving. Even before the sun rose, people were already on the streets. She began to learn how to live there. She learned where to buy food cheaply, how to avoid rude people, and where she could rest at night without being disturbed. But even as she tried to fit in, the city never felt like home. The people were distant. They spoke quickly, laughed loudly, and always seemed in a hurry. Sometimes, when she greeted someone, they didn't answer. When she smiled, they didn't smile back. It was so different from her village, where everyone knew each other and helped one another. One evening, after finishing her work, Amara sat outside the shop, watching the sunset. The sky was orange and red, and the tall buildings cast long shadows. For a moment, she closed her eyes and imagined she was back home, sitting by the river, listening to the wind in the trees. But when she opened her eyes, all she saw were walls and smoke. Her heart felt heavy. That night, Mama Binta gave her a small bowl of food and said, "You work hard, girl. But you are too quiet. Are you not happy here?" Amara forced a small smile. "I am happy to have work," she said softly. "But I miss my home." Mama Binta nodded slowly. "The city is not an easy place," she said. "It can make you strong, but it can also make you lonely. You must find your place in it." Those words stayed in Amara's heart. She tried to stay strong. Every night, after work, she sat alone by her small sleeping spot and looked up at the sky, though she could only see a few stars between the buildings. She remembered her mother's voice saying, "If ever you feel lost, listen to your heart. It will lead you home." One rainy night, as thunder rolled through the city, Amara lay awake thinking about her life. The room she slept in was cold, and water dripped from the roof. She hugged her blanket and whispered to herself, "Was this really what I wanted?" She thought of her dream, to find a better life, to see new things, to feel free. But now, she only felt tired. Still, she refused to give up. She told herself that maybe it just took time to find her place. The next morning, she went to work early and smiled at everyone she met, even if they didn't smile back. She started talking to the other workers near the market. Some of them were kind. One man named Bako helped her fix a torn shoe. Another woman, Sifa, shared her food when Amara had none. Slowly, she began to feel less alone. Sometimes, she would watch the children playing by the roadside. Their laughter reminded her of Tund. She would close her eyes and picture him chasing butterflies in the field, calling her name. Those memories gave her strength. But deep inside, a quiet sadness stayed. The city had given her what she wanted, a new world, a new life, but it had also taken something from her, peace. Each day, she worked, smiled, and pretended to be fine, but her heart longed for the sound of her mother's singing and the smell of fresh earth after rain. As weeks passed, Amara began to wonder if leaving home had been the right choice. The dream she once chased now felt heavy. Yet she could not go back. Not yet. She had promised herself she would make something of her life here. She wanted to prove she could stand on her own. Every night, as the city lights flickered outside her window, Amara whispered to herself, "Just a little longer." But deep down, she knew, the more she tried to fit into the city, the more she missed who she used to be. The bright world she had once dreamed of now felt too loud, too fast, too empty. and though she did not say it aloud, a quiet regret began to grow in her heart, one she did not yet understand. The evening sun hung low over the city of Mavuno, painting the buildings in a soft golden glow. Amara was walking through the busy market after finishing her work at Mama Binta's shop. The streets were still crowded, full of people rushing to buy food before night came. The smell of roasted maize, fried fish, and ripe fruit filled the air. Vendors shouted to get attention, children ran around laughing, and carts rolled past, their wheels clattering over the stones. Amara moved slowly, tired from the long day but not yet ready to return to her small corner where she slept. The noise and the colors of the market gave her comfort. They made her forget, for a little while, how lonely she sometimes felt in the big city. She stopped to buy a small piece of bread and a roasted plantain. As she handed her coins to the seller, she heard a soft cry behind her. At first, she thought it was just another child being scolded, but when she turned, she saw a small boy standing alone near a fruit stall. He couldn't have been more than 6 or 7 years old. His clothes were dusty, and his eyes were full of tears. People walked past him without stopping, too busy to notice. Amara felt her heart twist. She went closer and knelt down so she could see his face. "Hey," she said softly, "why are you crying?" The boy sniffed and wiped his eyes with his small hand. "I can't find my mama," he said in a trembling voice. "What's your name?" she asked gently. "Cato," he whispered. Amara smiled kindly. "Don't worry, Cato. We'll find your mama. Tell me, where did you last see her?" Cato pointed toward the other end of the market. "We were buying cassava. I saw a drum and went to look. When I turned, she was gone." Amara nodded. "It's all right. Stay close to me, okay?" The boy nodded, holding tightly to her hand as they began to move through the crowd. The market was loud and confusing, but Amara guided him carefully. Every few steps, she stopped to ask people if they had seen a woman looking for her son. Some shook their heads, others just shrugged. As they walked, Amara noticed how small Cato's hand felt in hers. It reminded her of holding Tun's hand when he was little. The memory made her chest ache. She could almost hear her brother's laughter, the way he used to chase her around the house, shouting her name. Cato's grip tightened as they passed a group of men unloading sacks from a cart. The noise made him flinch. Amara bent down again and said softly, "Don't be afraid. We'll find her soon." They walked until they reached the center of the market, where a few guards stood watching the crowd. Amara approached one of them and explained the situation. "This boy is lost. His name is Cato. His mother must be looking for him." The guard nodded and blew his whistle loudly. "Anyone looking for a child named Cato?" he called out. "A small boy, around 6 years old." The sound echoed across the market. Cato's eyes widened, and he looked around, hope lighting up his face. But no one came running right away. Amara could see he was about to cry again, so she tried to distract him. "Tell me, Cato," she said, "what does your mama look like?" "She wears a red headscarf," he said, his voice shaking. "And she has a basket with cassava and beans." "All right," Amara said with a smile. "Then we'll look for a woman with a red headscarf." They kept walking slowly through the rows of stalls. Amara asked everyone they passed if they had seen such a woman. After a few minutes, one of the fruit sellers pointed to the far corner of the market. "A woman in red has been crying near the mango stand," he said. Amara thanked him quickly and hurried in that direction, Cato running beside her. As they turned the corner, Amara saw her, a woman with a red headscarf, her face full of worry, calling out, "Cato! Cato!" The boy's eyes lit up. "Mama!" he shouted and ran to her. The woman turned and dropped her basket, rushing forward to catch him in her arms. She hugged him tightly, tears running down her cheeks. Amara stood back, smiling quietly as she watched them. The woman kept holding her son, whispering to him over and over, "Don't run off again. I thought I lost you." After a moment, the woman looked up at Amara and came closer, still holding Cato's hand. "Thank you," she said, her voice full of relief. "I was so scared. I don't know what I would have done if not for you." Amara shook her head. "It's all right. I just found him and wanted to help." The woman reached into her basket and pulled out a small bracelet made of tiny white shells. It was simple but beautiful, tied with a thin string. She held it out to Amara. "Please take this," she said. "It's not much, but it's a gift of thanks." Amara hesitated. "You don't have to." "Please," the woman said, smiling warmly. "You brought my son back to me. This is a lucky bracelet. May it bring you peace." Amara accepted it carefully. The shells were smooth and cool in her palm. "Thank you," she said softly. The woman nodded, then turned away, leading Cato by the hand. As they disappeared into the crowd, Amara looked down at the bracelet again. It reminded her of home, of the ocean she had seen only once as a child, of the river that flowed near her village, of the songs her mother used to sing while stringing shells into necklaces. She slipped the bracelet onto her wrist and smiled faintly. That night, when she returned to her small room behind the shop, she kept touching the bracelet. The shells made a soft sound when they moved against each other, like a whisper of waves. She sat by the window, looking at the few stars she could see between the buildings, and felt something stir inside her, a warmth she hadn't felt in a long time. For the first time since she had left home, Amara didn't feel completely alone. Helping Cato had reminded her that kindness still existed, even in a place as big and busy as Mavuno. In the days that followed, she wore the bracelet every day. Whenever she felt tired or sad, she would look at it and remember the look on Cato's face when he found his mother again. It reminded her that even small acts could bring light into someone's life. One morning, Mama Binta noticed the bracelet and asked, "That's a pretty thing you have there. Where did you get it?" Amara told her the story. Mama Binta smiled. "Ah, that means you have a good heart," she said. "The city needs more people like you, Amara. Never lose that kindness." Amara felt shy but happy. She thanked Mama Binta and went back to work, her spirit a little lighter. Still, at night, when the city grew quiet, she would hold the bracelet close and think about her village. She could almost smell the fresh air, hear her brother's laughter, and see her mother's gentle smile. The bracelet was a small thing, but it carried memories of love, peace, and home, all the things she had left behind when she came to the city. As the days passed, Amara began to notice the people around her more. She started greeting others in the market, helping when she could, sharing food with those who had less. Somehow, the small act of helping Cato had opened her heart again. But even with this new warmth, a quiet longing stayed inside her. Every time she touched the bracelet, she thought about her old life and wondered if her mother was thinking about her too. The shells reminded her of the gentle sound of water by her home, of evenings under the stars when life had been simple and full of love. That night, as she lay on her thin mattress, the bracelet still on her wrist, she whispered softly, "Maybe I'll go home someday." The thought gave her comfort. The days in Mavuno began to blend together for Amara. Morning came with the same noise, shouting vendors, rolling carts, and the sound of footsteps echoing through the narrow streets. The evenings brought the same dull glow of lights and the smell of dust and smoke. Life went on around her, fast and restless, but inside her heart, something had begun to slow down. She worked hard every day in Mama Binta's shop, sweeping, folding, smiling at customers. People came and went, but no one really saw her. Even when she smiled, it often felt empty. The bracelet made of shells still sat on her wrist, and she touched it often. It was her only reminder of peace, her small piece of home in a world that never stopped moving. Sometimes, she sat outside the shop during breaks, watching the people rush past. Everyone seemed to be chasing something: money, success, food, or time. But where were they going, really? Where did all the running lead? She didn't know. She only knew that her own feet felt tired from chasing something she no longer understood. One afternoon, while returning from the market, she saw an old man sitting by the road. His clothes were worn, and his hair was gray, but his eyes were calm and kind. He sat beside a wooden cart filled with small handmade toys, animals carved from wood, little drums, and whistles. Amara slowed her steps, drawn to the peaceful look on his face. The man looked up and smiled. "Good evening, young one," he said softly. "Good evening," Amara replied politely. She stopped to look at the toys. They reminded her of home, of the carvings her father used to make for the children in the village. She picked up a small wooden bird and turned it in her hand. "It's beautiful," she said. The man chuckled. "Thank you. I make them to keep my hands busy. The city can be loud, but my heart is quiet when I carve." Amara smiled faintly and nodded. She placed the bird back on the cart and sighed. "The city is too loud for me," she said. "Sometimes I miss the sound of silence." The old man looked at her for a long moment. "You are not from here," he said gently. "No," Amara said. "I came from a village far away. I thought life here would be better. I thought I would find happiness, but—" Her voice trailed off. "But the heart does not always find peace where the eyes find wonder," the man finished. Amara looked up, surprised. "Yes," she whispered. "That's exactly how I feel." The old man nodded slowly. "I once thought like you. I left my home many years ago, searching for something greater. I walked far and worked hard, but in the end, I realized the road I took only led me back to where I began." Amara frowned slightly. "What do you mean?" He smiled. "Sometimes the road we take only leads us back home. You may walk far, but the heart knows where it belongs." His words sank deep into her. They were simple, yet they felt heavy with truth. She stood there quietly for a moment, feeling the noise of the city fade into the background. "Maybe you are right," she said softly. "But what if I can't go back? What if I've changed too much?" The man chuckled kindly. "Home never forgets those who love it. Even if you have changed, the wind, the trees, the people, they will remember you. The door you left open is still waiting for you to walk through." Amara smiled weakly. "You speak like my mother," she said. "Then your mother must be a wise woman," he replied with a grin. "Go home when your heart tells you to. That's the only road worth walking." Amara thanked him and began to walk away, but his words stayed with her long after. That night, when she sat in her small room, she kept hearing his voice in her mind. "Sometimes the road we take only leads us back home." She stared out of the window at the city lights. They sparkled like stars, but they did not bring comfort. The glow only made her think of the real stars she used to watch from her village. Stars that shone over quiet fields, not over smoke and noise. Her heart began to ache with longing. She missed the laughter of Tund, the soft songs her mother sang while cooking, and the calm sound of crickets at night. Here in Mavuno, she had gained work and experience, but she had lost her peace. She thought about the people she had met, Mama Binta with her tired smile, Sifa who shared her food, and the old man who sold wooden toys. They were kind, but none of them knew her like her family did. Amara walked to her small table and looked at the bracelet on her wrist. The shells gleamed softly in the dim light. She remembered the day she helped Cato in the market and how happy she had felt bringing him back to his mother. That feeling of love and connection, that was what she missed most. In the city, everyone lived close together, but somehow they all felt far apart. A cool wind blew through the small window, carrying the smell of rain. Amara closed her eyes and imagined it was the wind from her village, carrying the scent of the river and the sound of her mother's voice. Her heart filled with longing. She whispered to herself, "I want to go home." But the thought frightened her. What if her family thought she had failed? What if they were disappointed that she hadn't found the success she dreamed of? She hugged her blanket tightly and tried to push the thought away. Yet, the feeling only grew stronger. The next day, she went to work as usual, but her mind was far away. As she swept the floor and arranged clothes, she kept thinking about home. The sound of laughter outside reminded her of Tund. The smell of fresh mangoes brought back memories of the small tree near their house. Even the soft rhythm of her broom on the floor sounded like the songs her mother used to hum. That evening, she met the old man again. He was sitting in the same spot, carving a new toy. She smiled as she approached him. "You were right," she said quietly. He looked up with kind eyes. "About what, my child?" "About the road," she said. "I think mine is leading me home." He nodded slowly, his smile warm and knowing. "Then follow it. The heart never lies." Amara sat beside him for a while, watching him carve. "I'm afraid," she admitted. "I don't know if I will still belong there." The man didn't stop his work as he said, "Belonging is not about the place. It's about the people who love you. You will always belong where love remembers your name." Amara felt tears rise in her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. That night, as she packed her few belongings, she felt both nervous and calm. For the first time in months, her heart was sure. She folded her clothes neatly, tucked her blanket into her bag, and tied the bracelet tightly on her wrist. It was time to go back, not because she had failed, but because she had finally learned what she truly wanted. She walked out to the edge of the city, where the lights grew dim and the road stretched toward the hills. The wind brushed her face, and she smiled. For the first time since she had arrived, the city didn't seem so big anymore. It was just another stop on her journey, a lesson, not a home. As she took her first steps toward the open road, the words of the old man echoed softly in her mind. Sometimes the road we take only leads us back home. And Amara understood now. The journey was never about finding something new. It was about remembering what she had left behind. When Amara stepped off the dusty bus and saw the hills of her village again, her heart felt light for the first time in a long while. The road that had once seemed endless now felt familiar and kind. She breathed in the cool, sweet air, so different from the smoke and noise of Mavuno. The trees swayed gently, as if whispering, "Welcome home." The wind carried the sound of children laughing in the distance, and that sound alone made her eyes fill with tears. She had finally come back to where she truly belonged. Her home stood just as she remembered, a small mud house with a thatched roof, surrounded by banana trees and the soft hum of crickets. As she walked closer, her heart beat faster. She saw her brother, Tund, sitting by the doorway, carving a small wooden toy. He looked up, and his eyes widened in surprise. "Amara," he said in disbelief, his voice trembling with joy. She nodded, smiling through tears. Before she could say a word, Tund shouted, "Mama! Baba! Amara is home!" Within seconds, her mother came running from the kitchen, her wrapper fluttering behind her. Her father followed, his walking stick tapping the ground quickly. When her mother reached her, she pulled Amara into her arms, holding her as if she would never let go again. "My child! My daughter! You are home!" her mother cried, her voice breaking with emotion. Amara hugged her tightly, tears falling freely. "Yes, Mama," she whispered. "I am home." Her father's eyes glistened as he placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "We missed you every day," he said softly. "The house was quiet without your laughter." "I missed you too," Amara replied, her voice trembling. "I thought I wanted the world, but what I really wanted was peace." Her mother smiled through tears. "And now you have found it," she said, cupping her daughter's face. They led her inside, and the smell of home filled her senses, the scent of cooked beans, burning wood, and palm oil. It was simple, but it was love. Tund brought her a cup of water from the clay pot, and it was the sweetest thing she had tasted in months. As the evening came, neighbors began to arrive, smiling and clapping their hands when they saw her. "Amara is back," they said joyfully. "The city girl has returned." Children ran around her, laughing, asking her what the city looked like. "It's big," she said, smiling softly, "and full of noise. But it's not like here. Here, people have hearts that listen." The villagers laughed warmly. Old Mama Lella, who had known Amara since she was a baby, touched her arm and said, "You went far, but your spirit never left us. Some journeys are meant to bring you home." Amara nodded gratefully. Her eyes shone with understanding. "Yes, Mama Lella," she said. "I think I had to go far to learn that." As night fell, the family sat outside under the stars. The air was cool, and the sound of the night insects surrounded them. Her father lit a small fire, and the orange flames flickered on their faces. They ate roasted corn and laughed together. Amara told stories about the city, the tall buildings, the lights that never went out, the endless noise, and they listened in awe. Tund leaned closer. "Did you make many friends there?" he asked curiously. Amara smiled. "A few," she said softly. "But no one like you, Tund. No one who knows the way I laugh or how I always forget to close the gate." He grinned proudly. "I kept the gate closed while you were gone." Her mother laughed. "And he also ate your share of mangoes," she teased, making everyone burst into laughter. Amara smiled and looked up at the stars. They were so clear here, brighter than in Mavuno, where the city lights hid them. She remembered how lonely she had felt in the city nights, staring out her window, wishing she could see these same stars. Now, sitting here under their glow, she felt peace wrap around her like a warm blanket. She touched the shell bracelet on her wrist, the one Cato's mother had given her. It glimmered faintly in the firelight. It had guided her through loneliness, reminding her of love and kindness when she needed it most. Now, it rested on her wrist as a symbol of everything she had learned, that true happiness didn't live in bright lights or busy streets, but in hearts that loved you. Her mother noticed the bracelet and smiled. "That is beautiful," she said. "Where did you get it?" Amara told them the story of Cato, the lost boy in the market. Her mother listened carefully, nodding with pride. "Even in the city, you carried goodness with you," she said. "That is what brought you home safely." Amara looked down, humbled. "Maybe," she whispered. "But I think home was calling me all along. I just needed to listen." The fire crackled softly, and for a while, no one spoke. They just sat together, watching the flames rise and fall. The sound of distant drums drifted from another part of the village, and someone began singing an old song, one that Amara knew from childhood. She joined in quietly, her voice blending with her mother's. When the song ended, Amara's father looked at her with gentle eyes. "Do you regret leaving?" he asked softly. Amara shook her head. "No, Baba," she said, "because leaving helped me understand how much I already had. I left to find something I thought I was missing, but I found out that it was always here, waiting for me." Her father nodded proudly. "Then you have learned well," he said. "The world teaches, but the heart remembers." Later that night, after everyone had gone to sleep, Amara stayed outside alone for a while. The moonlight painted the trees silver, and the stars seemed to dance above her. She lay on the grass and closed her eyes, feeling the earth beneath her. It was firm and real, the soil that had always held her family's roots. She whispered softly, "Thank you," to the stars, to the wind, to everything that had brought her back. A soft breeze brushed her cheek, almost like a reply. Amara thought about her journey, the fear, the loneliness, the lessons, the faces of kind strangers. It had not been easy, but it had made her stronger. She now understood that peace was not found in faraway places or in dreams of wealth. Peace was found in being where your heart belonged. She smiled and opened her eyes, looking up at the endless sky. The stars seemed brighter, almost smiling back at her. She raised her wrist and let the bracelet catch the moonlight. The shells shimmered softly, glowing like little stars of their own. At that moment, Amara knew she was exactly where she was meant to be. She was home, wiser, calmer, and full of gratitude. As the night deepened, her mother's voice drifted from inside, calling softly, "Amara, it's late, my child. Come sleep." Amara stood and looked one last time at the sky. "I'm coming, Mama," she said with a gentle smile. She walked back into the warm glow of their home, her heart full and her spirit at peace. The bracelet clinked softly on her wrist as if whispering along with her heartbeat. She had left to find herself, and now she had truly found home.